The Peterson family, John, Emma, and their 10-year-old daughter, Jessica, were ecstatic about their new home. Snuggled on a winding country lane, the Victorian house exuded a charm that whispered of forgotten stories. While John unpacked boxes, Emma and Jessica went to explore their new abode. The attic, dusty and cobwebbed, held a peculiar collection. Dozens of porcelain dolls, their faces painted with an unsettling realism, lined dusty shelves. Each doll wore detailed clothing from a bygone era, their glass eyes seeming to follow Jessica as she moved. One doll, perched upon a cracked rocking chair, stood out. Its porcelain skin was flawless, and it had a very carefully braided hair that seemed to shimmer with an unnatural life. A tiny silver locket hung around its neck, engraved with swirling initials, AF. That night, Jessica dreamt of the doll in the rocking chair. It sat cradling itself, whispering a sad lullaby in a language she couldn't understand. When she woke, a shiver ran down her spine. The rocking chair in the attic was empty. Days turned into weeks. Strange occurrences began to plague the household. Objects went missing only to reappear in inexplicable locations. Whispers seemed to come from the walls, especially at night. Jessica swore she could hear the clinking of the locket around the doll's neck. One morning, John discovered a porcelain handprint on the kitchen counter, perfectly formed and far too large for Jessica. Emma found the doll in the rocking chair again, its head cocked at an unnatural angle, its locket swinging open to reveal a faded picture of a young woman with auburn hair. Fear prickled at Jessica. She confided in her parents, but they dismissed it as an overactive imagination. Desperate for answers, she snuck back to the attic. The locket was gone, and the doll's eyes seemed to flicker with an unsettling intelligence. Determined to prove her theory, Jessica spent her afternoons researching the history of the house. In the town library, she stumbled upon an old, leather-bound book titled The Chronicles of Hollow Creek. A section spoke of a notorious dollmaker, Amelia Farthing, who resided in the house a century ago. The book described Amelia's uncanny ability to breathe life into her dolls, fueled by a dark pact she made with a malevolent entity. It spoke of a curse placed upon the dolls, trapping restless spirits within their porcelain bodies. The only way to break the curse was to reunite the spirits with a cherished object lost to them in life. Jessica's heart pounded. The locket, the picture inside must be the key to breaking the curse for one doll, at least. But how could she find what the spirit had lost? Days later, while exploring the overgrown garden, Jessica came across a shallow grave marked by a single, wilting rose bush. Underneath, she unearthed a tarnished silver locket with the same initials, AF. That night, Jessica crept back to the attic. The doll was in the chair, its locket open. With shaking hands, Jessica placed the matching locket inside. A gentle sigh filled the room, and the doll's eyes softened, losing their eerie gleam. Emboldened, Jessica decided to help the other dolls. She spent weeks researching the forgotten stories of Hollow Creek, uncovering the lost belongings of the spirits trapped within the porcelain bodies. A lost wedding ring, a child's favorite music box, a worn pocket watch. Each reunited object brought a flicker of peace to the doll that held the spirit. However, one doll remained unchanged. A pale, skeletal figure with shadowed eyes, it held a chipped teacup and seemed to emanate an aura of cold malice. The book mentioned nothing about this doll. One night, as Jessica slept, the air grew frigid. She awoke to a horrifying sight, the skeletal doll standing over her, its teacup overflowing with a dark, swirling liquid. It spoke, its voice a raspy whisper. "You freed the others, but I crave something more. Your life essence." Jessica screamed, scrambling back. The doll lunged, its chipped teacup outstretched. In a desperate move, Jessica grabbed the music box belonging to one of the freed spirits. Its melody filled the room, pushing back against the cold aura. The skeletal doll convulsed, its form twisting and contorting. With a final, ear-splitting shriek, it shattered into a million porcelain pieces, the spirit within dissolving into a wisp of smoke. Exhausted and terrified, Jessica sank to the floor. The remaining dolls, their eyes gleaming with gratitude, began to hum a soft lullaby, a tune she recognized from her first dream. The next morning, John and Emma found Jessica asleep in the attic, surrounded by the broken pieces of the skeletal doll. Though skeptical at first, after hearing Jessica's story, John and Emma finally believed her. The house, once charming, now held a chilling secret. They contacted a local historian, a kind woman named Ms. Catherine, who confirmed the existence of Amelia Farthing and the rumors surrounding her dark craft. Ms. Catherine advised them to perform a cleansing ritual, a symbolic act to appease the remaining spirits and sever their connection to the house. With Ms. Catherine's guidance, they gathered herbs and white candles, their scent filling the air with a sense of solemnity. As Jessica chanted the words from an old grimoire Ms. Catherine had provided, the remaining dolls seemed to watch with an unsettling intensity. The air crackled with a strange energy, and a cold wind whipped through the attic despite the closed windows. Suddenly, a doll, a young boy with a mischievous grin, let out a peal of tinkling laughter. The sound, innocent yet unsettling, resonated through the room. Then, one by one, the dolls began to hum the same lullaby Jessica had heard in her dreams. The melody, once comforting, now took on an eerie quality. The dolls seemed to vibrate with an otherworldly energy. Fear threatened to overwhelm Jessica, but Emma squeezed her hand, offering silent support. The ritual reached its climax. Miss Catherine tossed a handful of herbs into the flames, and a burst of white light filled the room. The dolls' humming ceased immediately, replaced by a deafening silence. The dolls returned to their original positions, their eyes vacant once more. A wave of relief washed over the Petersons. Had it worked? Ms. Catherine, her face etched with concern, inspected the room. "It seems the remaining spirits have found peace," she finally declared, "but for how long, no one can say." Despite the success of the ritual, a shadow of unease lingered. The Petersons couldn't shake the feeling they were being watched. Strange occurrences continued. Whispers in the dead of night, fleeting glimpses of movement in the corner of their eyes. One evening, John found a single porcelain shard on the kitchen counter. It depicted a hauntingly familiar image, a chipped teacup. A cold dread settled in his stomach. Had they truly vanquished the malevolent spirit, or was it merely biding its time, waiting for the right moment to strike? The once charming Victorian house now felt like a prison, and the Petersons knew they couldn't stay. With heavy hearts, they decided to sell the house, a decision tinged with both relief and a lingering sense of dread. As they packed their belongings, Jessica snuck back to the attic one last time. The dolls sat motionless on the dusty shelves, their past seemingly forgotten. Yet, as she met their vacant gazes, a flicker of something deep within their glass eyes sent a shiver down her spine. The Dollmaker's curse, it seemed, wasn't so easily broken. Some secrets are best left buried, and some bargains come at a terrible price. The Petersons left Hollow Creek behind, but the memory of the house and its unsettling inhabitants would forever haunt them.
Thanks for joining us on Fright Scream. Remember, for more chills, subscribe and hit that notification bell. Until next time, sleep tight, if you dare.